Hey Al, I wanted to talk to you today about composing drum parts. I've had a few people ask me about how I sort of come up with what I'm playing, and I think everybody kind of has their own approach, and so I think it's helpful to have a lot of people tell you their approach. I'm going to, this is kind of going to be two parts. The first part, I'm gonna use two songs from my church. I play a djembe at church. It's a small congregation, and a drum set would be overwhelming. And so I play a djembe and I try and make it sound as much like a drum set as I can. But one of those hidden benefits of the pandemic and everyone being inside is that we've been worshiping remotely, and so the band has been making our music remotely, and we'll get the tracks and I will record my drum parts first. The music director sends me a scratch track of a metronome and him singing, and I'll lay down my drums, and then we add bass and keys and guitar on top, and then the music director does his final vocal take on top, and then we play that on a Zoom worship. And so we've been doing two tracks a week pretty much. So I thought I would take the two tracks that are going to be used next week. I just got the scratch tracks. One of the songs I know very well, and we'll start with that one. And the other song I don't really know well. My memory is very poor, which is one of the reasons it's very good that I'm good at thinking on my feet, because if I have too much to remember, I have difficulty. Whereas if I'm just kind of listening and thinking, or not thinking, to go with our flow video, if I'm just sort of listening and being in the music, I do much better than trying to remember, oh, this goes there, right? So this first song is called Peace Before Us, and I'm going to take you through my process, okay? Usually I'll listen to the song a couple times. I try and get my take on my first or second at worst of recording the take, just because for this stuff it's pretty straightforward, and so usually that's not a problem anyway. But even when the music is more difficult, I try to be done by my third take, because I've noticed that after my third take, I start thinking about what I did on the previous takes that I liked and trying to replicate that. And usually, unless it's like something very specific where I'm like coming up with like a specific part, if it's a thing that I like just kind of did in the moment and I try and do it again, it just usually gets in the way. So I try to do first to third takes. For a while I thought my third was the best, but I've gotten better at making it in my second and my first nowadays too, because it's also about saving time too. If I can get things done on the first take, that's super exciting after listening to it for a little bit. I'm going to do something a little bit more expansive today. I'm going to play through the track 3 times, and then I'll do my finished take. And what I'm going to do on these first 3 is I'm going to experiment. I'm going to show you things that I might do, and I'm going to kind of feel my way around. Well, like I said, we're going to start with the song that I know pretty well, so I'm not really thinking too much about learning the song form. The second one, I kind of have to learn the form as we go too. This first one, it's in 3. Peace before us, peace behind us, peace under, right? And so I'll probably do something to accent that 3. At this tempo, it gets too oompa-ish if I do like a boom, chip, chip, boom, chip, chip. So I probably won't do that too much in some of the church songs that are in 3. I'll do that a lot. This one I think is right in that tempo where that doesn't work. But I'll try it and see, and maybe I'm just wrong. So I think I've laid out the premise. I'm just going to play it, and like I say, I've played this before. I've played this definitely on the djembe at church. I think I may have even played it on the drum set, and I've heard it a bunch, so I know the song pretty well. I'll sort of play some things, and hopefully you'll see the process of my brain, and I'll talk more about it before I do the final take. So we're gonna have, I'll play through it 2 or 3 times. I might not do all 3 if I think 2 is enough. So here we go.
Let all around us be peace, peace before us, peace behind us, peace under our feet, peace within us, peace over us. Let all around us be peace. Hope before us, hope behind us, hope under our feet. Hope within us, hope over us. Let all around us be hope. Oh, love within us, love before us, love under our feet. Love within us, love over us. Let all around us be love. Light before us, light behind us, light under our feet. Light within us, light over us. Let all around us be light.
I go for more in these just playthroughs to see what works. A lot of what I just did didn't work, right? Although I do like that halftime feel I came up with. Let's see what happens next. Here's take 2.
Let all around us be peace, peace before us, peace behind us, peace under our feet, peace within us, peace over us. Let all around us be peace. Hope before us, hope behind us, hope under our feet. Hope within us, hope over us. Let all around us be hope. Oh, love within us, love before us, love under our feet. Love within us, love over us. Let all around us be love. Light before us, light behind us, light under our feet. Light within us, light over us. Let all around us be light.
So I liked that. I'm just going to go for a take.
Let all around us be peace. Peace before us, peace behind us, peace under our feet. Peace within us, peace over us, let all around us be peace. Hope before us, hope behind us, hope under our feet. Hope within us, hope over us, let all around us be hope. Love within us, love before us, love under our feet. Love within us, love over us, let all around us be love. Light before us, light behind us, light under our feet. Light within us, light over us, let all around us be light.
So I'm pretty happy with that third one. I'm going to keep that third one and send it to the music director. I am going to take a break and set up for our second one, which, like I say, I know less well, so this is going to be more of me figuring out. I shall be right back. Okay, so we're back. Something I forgot to mention in the second half of the second run through of that first tune, I was feeling that I wanted a deeper snare sound, so I grabbed the one of the big fat snare drum add-ons I have. I forget exactly what this one is called, and it's not on here, so it's not going to help me. But it's one layer solid of white, and then the whole version. I think donut they call it. So this might be like the Boston cream donut or whatever. But so it's it's 1.5 layers of plastic that I put on this snare just to get a little lower, fatter, flatter sound. Felt like the appropriate thing. So this tune coming up, God Can Use Me, I listened to it again. I think I probably do know it. It's an up-tempo gospel kind of boom ba ba ding ba da 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 da. So it's probably blurring together in my mind with a lot of other tunes that we do that are like that. The thing though, the intro that the music director has included, it's about 1.5 bars kind of like thing that I'm not used to. And I think that's what I was hearing as, oh, hey, that's weird. So we're going to do the same thing again. I'm going to play 2 and try and get it on the third. And I got to be honest, the first 2 are going to be me mostly trying to figure out what to do for that intro section. And hopefully I'll have the right thing in mind by the third, or else I'll do a fourth. So, which probably would be most useful for y'all, right? To see me kind of not come up with what I want and have to like work it out. But yeah, so starts on 3. This is a bar of click and then 2 beats of click, and the intro starts on 3. And I'm unsure whether I want to, how all in I want to go on this intro, but we'll see what happens.
God can use me anywhere, Lord, anytime. I'm gonna praise so God can use me anywhere, Lord, anytime. I'm gonna praise so God can use me anywhere, Lord, anytime. God can use me anywhere, Lord, anytime. I'm gonna live so God can use me anywhere, Lord, anytime. I'm gonna work so God can use me anywhere, Lord, anytime. I'm gonna work so God can use me anywhere, Lord, anytime.
So that was pretty good. I think I'm mostly there. One more to work out the kinks.
Anywhere, Lord, anytime. I'm gonna live so God can use me anywhere, Lord, anytime. I'm gonna live so God can use me anywhere, Lord, anytime. I'm gonna pray so God can use me anywhere, Lord, anytime. I'm gonna pray so God can use me anywhere, Lord, anytime. I'm gonna pray so God can use me anywhere, Lord, anytime. I'm gonna live so God can use me anywhere, Lord, anytime. I'm gonna work so God can use me anywhere, Lord, anytime. I'm gonna work so God can use me anywhere, Lord, anytime.
Okay, so that time there was a lot of overplaying. There's like that one kind of double fill idea that I'm kind of hearing in my head between, doubles between my hands and my bass drum. I haven't figured out exactly what I want. Let's see how it goes.
I'm gonna live so God can use me anywhere, Lord, anytime. I'm gonna live so God can use me anywhere, Lord, anytime. I'm gonna pray so God can use me anywhere, Lord,
a couple last things while I'm in the moment. We're going to do a little more talk at the desk, but the thing that occurred to me is when I'm in the playing, working it out phase, right? So the first two for both tunes, even though I pretty much have the tunes, I'm going to go for something silly a bit here and there, just if for no other reason, just to kind of say, oh, hey, that might work. That's really goofy. Let's try that. I'm in my own studio, so my time is my own. I'm not paying anyone, to do the recording. So this is a perfect time for me to just kind of wing it and throw everything in the kitchen sink at it and see what works, see what doesn't work. And then when I actually go for it, when I go for a take, I get a lot more conservative, right? I play a lot less risky, which isn't to say not risky at all. That double bass or the doubles in the bass drum fill that I did in the third take, which I liked. I gave you a little wink. I don't know if you noticed. I liked that. But I don't remember what it was. And, I could learn it if I really wanted to, but it was a pattern that made sense in the moment, right? And because I had fooled around with a few versions of it, that one that I did on that keeper take, I think was my favorite out of all the one. Maybe the very first one I did in the first take, which I don't even think you guys heard because that was the one where the tracks weren't armed. So that happens sometimes too. Sometimes you play the best thing and you're not even recording and you're like, oh no. But that's why you don't want to get too attached to any one take of a tune. Okay, so I'm going to wrap up here. I'm gonna do a little bit of mixing and then we're gonna I'll do some more talking at the desk. All right. Okay, so here we are over at the desk. I wanted to talk just a little bit about sort of the macro process of coming up with the drum part. These two tunes were really straight ahead. I get them from the music director. I want to think of something that will work and get them processed and get them back to him. And I want to play something that's musically valid, that's fun, that's going to work with what the band is doing, but is also going to feel artistically pleasing to me. I don't know what the right word is. A thing I've noticed over the years is if ever I try to play what I think someone else wants to hear, invariably I play less well and I play less happy, and it comes out and the person that I was trying to please doesn't like it anyway. So in all of my settings, I try and play something that's going to make me happy. I talked before about how everyone kind of has their own process for coming up with drum parts. I try to just be happy. Sometimes I'll tell people I try to have as much fun as I can on the drums when I'm performing. And it's really true, right? Like the more fun that I can have, the more energy I think I'm going to put out in a positive way. But let's talk a little bit about the practicalities, right? So I mentioned one of the tunes was in 3/4, time signature, right? That's the very first thing you listen for when you're constructing a drum part is, hey, what time signature is this in? There's also the general feel or style. I am not a style purist, right? So if a tune is a jazz tune in every way, I don't feel any obligation to think, oh, what would Jack DeJohnette play, right? I'm trying to think what I think makes musical sense, and I'm a progressive rock drummer masquerading as a jazz drummer sometimes, right? And so I don't worry too much about stylistic purity. I'm not a big fan of purity. And so when I'm approaching a tune, I'll pay attention to the style. Like that second tune I mentioned is like a kind of, not really up tempo, but like kind of a mid tempo gospel kind of thing. And so, you know, I don't do like, you know, a double bass shuffle or anything to get super silly, but I'm playing that gospel feel within my vernacular, right? I think that's what I'm trying to say. So I'm trying to use the tools that I have in the style that's there to play something that's musically valid. I'm going to make another video in a week or two. It depends on some stuff that's out of my control. Going over the Sex and Witchcraft video that already dropped and one that will be dropping soon. Shh, don't tell anybody. About how I come up with parts more. I'll probably use a hyperspace example or two as well. And that video will be a little bit more in depth than this one. This was just a quickie, which means it'll only be 20 minutes instead of an hour. It's funny because it's true. But so, to me, there's a difference, right, between the tracks I just did, which I want to play good, I want to have fun, people are going to hear them, it's a performance, right? But it's work, right? I'm getting the job done. The Sex and Witchcraft stuff and the hyperspace stuff is closer to my heart, right? It's more about creating something that I'm gonna love and just, you know, hopefully, if the world ever gives me the opportunity, play it 100 nights in a year on a tour, right? And so I'm thinking much more about constructing a drum part that is like me opening up my heart and pouring it out on the drums, right? And fundamentally, that's the same thing. What time signature is this? What's the feel? Is it, you know, is it low? Does it need a lot of toms? Is it light and airy? Is it, you know, what's the mood? I tend to think of mood as much as like style or genre. I think that's a thing we don't talk about enough. What's the mood of this piece? I love the example of Fool in the Rain because the lyrics, if you've ever listened to the lyrics of Fool in the Rain, Led Zeppelin, John Bonham on drums, just in case. Kind of the best drum groove ever. It's the Purdie shuffle, but John Bonham like made it perfect. The words are this, you know, it's a broken-hearted love song, and yet the music is this happy up thing, and the whole band goes in that happy up way, and then the lyrics are this broken-hearted love song that Robert Plant is singing almost in a mood that matches the band. It's a very interesting tune. Besides just being awesome, it's like an interesting juxtaposition of mood and frame. Anyway, so mood I think about a lot. I try not to think, I mean, you know, we all want to play impressive stuff, and so sometimes I'll try to think, hey, is there some way I can do something cool and impressive here? Usually that's not how I come up with the parts that I like the best. Usually I just listen to the music and I try and follow the music and try and follow where it takes me. I really hate any sort of those concepts of like less is more or play for the tune, blah, blah, blah. Like, I mean, everybody's playing for the tune, and sure, you can play stuff that doesn't work that's too many notes, but you can play stuff that doesn't work that's too few notes too. That's why I've said a few times that everyone has their own process, and there isn't going to be a right drum part for a song. Every song is going to have its own, you know, thing that drives each person to create something different. And that's kind of what makes music awesome, and that's what makes bands awesome, is when there's like a collection of personalities that work together, right? So I'm going to wrap here. There are two videos that I'm going to recommend to you specifically. One is Gregg Bissonette's writing, reading, and playing, soloing with a band, which is his second instructional video from way back in the 90s. But he goes through charting out a tune, and he talks, these tunes have solo sections, and it's just a great kind of deep dive. They use 5 rock tunes that he and his brother wrote, that are sort of like very similar to riffs you may know from other songs, right? It's that kind of thing. And it's just a great dive into that process. And then the other is the Rod Morgenstein's instructional video, Putting It All Together, which Rod has generously let me host on my channel until he tells me not to. So for now, it's on my channel, so that one I can put a little link up here, and there'll be a link to both of these down in the doobly-doo. But there's a section where Rod talks about coming up with a drum part, and he gives a couple different examples from the Steve Morse Band, which are super helpful, so you can really see, oh, here's how a very simplistic approach. He does 1 or 2 things. He's like, okay, that didn't work, right? And then he's like, but the Steve Morse Band is this progressive rock fusion band, and we play a lot of notes, and let's do this. So, highly recommend both of those. The real thing is just experiment a lot. So you want to learn as much as you can, and then when you get in the heat of the moment where it's your job to create something, hopefully something's going to come to you. And if it doesn't, just play. Neil Peart always it seemed like he wanted to play every last thing he could try. So he would figure out all the things that wouldn't work, and then it's almost like a Sherlock Holmes approach to drumming, right? You eliminate all the stuff that won't work, and then you're left with what will, right? And so that's one approach. And then, some approaches are, well, I want to go with my first thought, because if I beat it to death too much, pardon the pun, it's going to get stale, and I'm going to get confused and overwhelmed by all the options, right? So there isn't one right way. Hopefully with the simple examples I did today, you can get a little bit of a sense of that. And then when we dive into the Hyperspace and Sex and Witchcraft tunes, it'll make even more sense. Like anything else, the more you do it, we're really blessed nowadays. Last thought, then I'm going to go. We're really blessed nowadays with all the play-along tracks that are on YouTube and iTunes and Spotify, and everywhere is drumless tracks. Several of which are free, some cost money, but it's a incredible resource for you to have, right? And the ones that are like a 4-bar loop that are just fun to solo over, those are great. But there are lots of them that are pretty much constructed like a tune. And what better way to practice coming up with drum parts than pretend someone emailed you this and you have to come up with a drum part, and there you go, right? So yeah, play along tracks. That's what I'm going to say. All right, I'm going to wrap. I will see you all again real soon. If you like this video, if you like what I do, I would appreciate a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribing would be awesome and help me out. I do have a Patreon that there'll be a link down below. It's just patreon.com/Penny Larson. Still kind of getting running over there, figuring out exactly what I'm doing, which is the story of my life, figuring out exactly what I'm doing. But there is at least already some free stuff there, or some extra stuff, I should say. And there will be more as we go on. I'm thinking of doing like an extra chapter of this discussion for the Patreon folks. And I guess that's it. All right. You guys all take care, and I will see you all again real soon. I love you all very much. Thanks. Take care. Bye.